So you all should be able to see right now a big blue screen, which is my desktop. If not, please let me know. But finding accessible options is it's going to be in the start menu. But before I go there, actually, I just want to show you all, we have all of these little shortcut icons here on the far left. And if you're low vision, this might be very, very difficult to see. Now my computer monitor is pretty large. It's about 20 inches. So it's like a small TV size. So it's a pretty good size, but still the icons are quite small for me. So what can we do to be able to see this better? And it's not just these icons, it's also, when we look at Word documents, I'll pull up one. So here, this is 11-point font. It can be kind of difficult to see if you have low vision. So how do we access our computers? One second, folks. I'm just letting some people in. There we go. So all of the options that you want for Windows computers are going to go here in the bottom left corner is your start menu. Unless if you've altered your computer at all, the start menu is going to be in the bottom left corner all the way down. And then you're going to select the settings option. So we're going to start menu and then settings. Once we get into settings, you get this big pop-up menu. And for those of you who may not be able to see, it's a very large white screen, a gray border at the top. And then there's about 13 options to select from. Now, the option that you're looking for is called ease, E-A-S-E, of access, which is their version of accessible. So we click there. And wouldn't you know it, the first things that pop up for accessibility on the computer is actually vision related. So we're already right here. Now, on the far left side, there's a little toolbar or a little bar here with different options to select from that have the different things that you can modify. I'm going to start in the display option, which is often going to be the first one that's selected when you first go into ease of access. So when you select display, there's a large white area to the right of that smaller gray toolbar on the left. And the first thing, and probably the simplest thing we can do to start out, is making our text larger. So there's a little toolbar here that allows you to zoom up almost up to 225%. Now that's pretty large. So I'm going to zoom all the way up, and then you click apply. And it's going to do a little reset here. Hopefully I didn't lose you all. But now we see that the text is much, much larger. So I'm going to keep it like that for the moment, just while we're zooming through some of these different things, and we'll adjust it as we go. But now the text is larger. And if I minimize here and I see my shortcuts, the text is also larger, but we also see that it's cut off quite a few things, which, doesn't really help us in that option. But if we go on to the internet, we see that the zoom option has zoomed in a lot of things already. Now I have a Google Sheet, which is like a Microsoft Excel up here. And we see I have senior living communities, a list of the senior living communities up here. And we see that the text is much larger than what it typically would be. So this is the largest. And then if we go back to the ease of access and I were to reset it back down to 100%. We would see that it's actually this small. So it does make a pretty large difference in the text size. And you can adjust that to what works for you. Let's go back up to a larger while we're going through this. Okay, and if y'all at any point in time cannot see the screen that I'm sharing, please feel free to unmute yourself for those that know how, and just let me know. So scrolling down, we can make everything bigger, which is another option. Typically, I recommend keeping it at the 100%, but what it's going to do is going to change the size of apps and text on the main display. That can be a little confusing, but if we were to do that, you see some of the things at, at the top here, we have my little share screen, and it's gotten larger, and some of the other things have gotten larger as well. At the bottom here, our toolbar has also gotten larger. That can be nice, but it does cause a little bit of crowding. Again, so that might be an option. That might not be your favorite. Next option is make everything brighter. And this is exactly what you think it is. It makes things brighter and darker. So right now, if I change it, it's only changing on my other monitor. I have two monitors that are hooked up to the same computer. So it's only adjusting that. There's a way I can go in and move that, but I'm not going to do that right now. But basically, it just changes the brightness of your screen. I keep all of these things on, and notifications, don't need to worry too much about that. So that is the display option. Next, on the far left here, we have mouse. On the far left toolbar here under vision, we have mouse pointer. This is a really good one if you find yourself losing the mouse quite frequently, a little mouse icon, which actually I'm going to update it now so that way you can see my mouse, so you see how large it gets when we select that. And the cool thing is that you can also have the different color contrasts. So as you see here, it kind of changes when I scroll over. You can also get different colors if you like, different colors. There's not really much of a benefit here unless if you benefit from a color contrast versus black and white. I personally try to keep it black or white. Whatever you prefer, do it that way. Black's probably better for a lot of folks on this call. And then you can adjust the pointer size to what works for you. And I'm currently using Windows 10. Thank you, Tony. That was a great question. I'm using Windows 10. I know that Windows 11 just came out. We have not updated to that yet on our work computers, and we're not doing that just because we're waiting for all the bugs to get worked out before we do that, just to save ourselves some headaches. So if you've updated to Windows 11, there's going to be some minor differences. I don't know what major differences there'll be at this moment in time personally, but this is Windows 10. Windows 11 just came in about 3 or 4 months ago. So this is Windows 10. All right, I'm going to keep my pointer large so that way you all can see it. Next is the text cursor. Text cursor, you can adjust how large, you have these little indicators that you can put on here. So you can turn that on if you really want to. I personally, and then you just click it on here. I personally am not a huge fan of that. So let me show you an example. So now I have the little purple bars here on whenever I'm highlighting something, well, not when I highlight, when I'm trying to find my cursor. That may work for some folks. Personally, I don't like it, but for some people, it's a godsend. So, whatever you prefer. Again, that's another big deal with all these accessibility features I'm showing you. Find what works for you and then use that. You don't have to use everything. Just use the things that are useful for your purposes. The other option is you can change the text cursor appearance. So basically you can make the text cursor thicker. So if you all at the bottom here, there's a thin line as our cursor on the far left. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it thicker, and it can make it very, very thick. Now you see it's covering two letters here. Some folks really like that. I know a lot of people like it just to cover one letter or just thick enough that it starts to cover the letter before it. And that'll help when you are, see, I'll go back to this Word document and you'll see here, I'm right by the A in lamps right now, and I can find that pretty easily. But again, find what works for you, what's effective for your purposes. So Next is Magnifier. Now, before I go to Magnifier, I'm going to go to the high contrast and color filters. So color filters, you can turn these on, and it can make things black and white. Like right now, my screens are all gray and white now. It's on the grayscale. You can do inverted colors. So I don't know if you all can see the inverted colors. I'm not sure how Zoom affects that, but right now I have white text on a black background. And yeah, I really don't know. Can you all see that, the different when I'm changing the color contrast? Yes, no, maybe so.
Still looks like white background with dark lettering.
Okay, thank you. So it's not going to update while I'm sharing my screen, unfortunately, it looks like, but let me just turn this back off then. So the different options here are you can do inverted colors, you can do a grayscale inverted, and they also have color blindness filters if any of you are colorblind. I guess Zoom hasn't gotten good enough yet to see the different color filters while it's sharing screens. That would be quite impressive if it could, but that is something that you can utilize as well. The next option is high contrast. Turning that on, and it's going to do a little bit of buffering here. So high contrast. Janice, has it changed at all?
Yes, it's a black background with white lettering, and the bars are yellow, and yeah. So
okay.
changed.
Thank you. So there's all kinds of different contrasts that'll change things around. So this might be useful for some people. If you've never seen this before, this may remind you of the computers in the 90s or the 80s and 90s with MS-DOS when you had to put the code in, and it's, it was black background with some white text. But if this helps you with identifying things, that might be good for you. Here it is on a Word document. It's yellow text with black background. So there's different options that you can do. Here's a high contrast with it being white background, and so on and so forth. So that's another cool thing that you all can try out and just try to play with, tinker with, see what works for you. If you end up clicking on so many things that you don't know what's working correctly, just go back to these settings and just make sure you turn everything back off. Let's see, we have a question here in the chat box. How do you make all the toolbars open different colors? You end up closing the wrong windows sometimes. So do you mean the little icons at the top when you're on the internet, David?
Hi, what I mean is, you know the bars that go from left to right, the box where the window's in? Like,
oh, at the bottom. Are you able to see my pointer?
Yes, it's in the middle of the screen.
Okay.
If you go to the top of that window.
Are you talking about at the bottom here?
Like, when you have like 10 different windows open, and then you're switching between windows, and then I end up closing the wrong app window because I think that I'm closing the app that I want to close, but I end up closing something else. So I was wondering if there's a way to have the borders of the windows different colors so you know that you're closing the app that you want to be closing.
That's a good question. I haven't received that question before. Let me see if the high contrast.
Because I'm an accountant, and during taxes you have different things open all the time, and then you end up closing stuff that you're not supposed to.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it changes. It changes when you have it click. When you click on it, it
injected.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
I said, is it possible that there may be tabs that he's talking about on?
I think you're talking about the tabs at the bottom. If you're talking about at the top, it's going to be, I mean, it's not going to change the colors of them, unfortunately.
Okay, I thought I'd just ask because I've never seen someone had that before. Many moons ago, when I didn't suffer from low vision, where like the bar running across for the app was like blue for one app and it would be yellow for another. And I don't know if that was because he's using some software or if it was just something in Windows. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that one. That's a really good question. We'll have to look into it more.
So Sean and David,
I have used the narrator.
Yeah, narrator does do it. Yeah.
like on your toolbar at the bottom, when it shows the icons of the windows you have open, like if you're an accountant and you've got Excel open and you've got Windows open or whatever, I have it set so if I hover over the Excel icon, I'll see little thumbnails of each Excel window that I have open. And so that's not a different color for everything, but then you can put your cursor over each one and go back and forth between the different Excel sheets. Is that what you're talking about?
I guess
and you
is
can
a problem
close
too,
them
but
from there if you like.
like my main concern right now is you might have like 8 different apps open and then like in Excel, you might have 3 different Excels open and you end up closing the wrong Excel that you didn't want to close.
Right.
So what I do right now is I drag the window over to another monitor and then I close it. But like sometimes you forget and then you end up closing wrong programs or wrong apps. So you think you're looking at the Excel screen with the boxes and you're closing it, but you actually end up closing like say Outlook or something.
Right. Well, that's why if you're hovering over the Excel icon at the bottom, then only the Excel, it's a thumbnail, it's a small little window of your, you know what I'm talking about, Sean? It's a
Yeah,
small
so
little window of your,
yeah, so what Janice is explaining is right now I have 3 different, hold on, I need to mute people. Sorry, folks, there's a lot of background noise. When you hover over, like I have 3 Word documents, all 3 Word documents pop up, and then I select the one that I want.
exactly.
Yeah, so that could be an option. When we get to narrator too, David, I can show you what that does because it'll like you can kind of thumb through the different apps that you have open and select them that way.
Okay. And then another problem is like when you're navigating the bottom with the icons and you see 3 Word documents open and you click on the middle one, it doesn't always necessarily take you to the middle document. You end up seeing the first document on the left or something. So like what I end up doing now is I press the Windows key and M to minimize everything to make sure that the window opens for the tab that I'm clicking on. But anyway, that's just a side comment.
So you mean when you have, like I have 3 open, if you click on the middle one, it'll sometimes go to the left one?
Yeah, like it doesn't really necessarily go to the one that you want to be navigating to.
Oh, it should. I don't know why it's not doing that. That's
Yeah, I don't. Maybe it's a dual monitor setup or something. I don't know. But like, and the other thing is like, say all 3 windows are actively open in your screen. You want to click on the middle one to go to the middle one, but it won't if the. I just wish that like it would just click and go to the one that you want. Like, so you don't have to like second guess yourself to make sure you're in the right window.
yeah.
Solution. There is a solution to this, or a potential solution, and that is to use the Alt tab. That'll bring up all of your open applications. And if you tab just with the Alt tab, you can go through and each one of them will not only show you the application, let's say it's a Word documents, it will also give you the title of it. And that is often makes it a lot easier for someone with low vision to read it. And it will highlight that one, and then that will bring that up automatically. I think what gets trickier at this point is that now since in the more recent versions, the tabs at the top, the minimize, maximize, and close. Only the close changes color when you hover over it. The other 2, you can't change the color of it all anymore.
Yeah, that's correct.
And been a problem. We've been working with Microsoft on the potential to get that fixed. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Yeah, and to demonstrate the Alt Tab, so I'm pressing Alt Tab now, and I have all the windows that I have currently open to kind of thumb through. And there's a little white outline whenever I'm on one to select. So let's say I want to go to my lamp guide. I go there, opens it up. Want to go somewhere else. I go there. Let's see, where do we want to go, folks? Let's go to email real quick. Yeah. Guess it would help if I selected the right one. There we go. So it can thumb through the different options.
So if you hit Alt Tab and it shows all the windows that are open, you can click one and then it will expand.
It'll open up, yeah.
Oh, it'll open up? Yeah. Okay, great.
Yep. And let me just get back to the settings. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the display real quick and move my text back down because I'm going to show you Magnifier now. Okay, so it's the fourth option down here on Vision on the far left bar here. Have the magnifier. There's first options, turn magnifier on. So you can either select the on button here, or you can press the Windows logo and the plus to turn on the magnifier. So I'm going to do the Windows plus. Oops. There we go. So we now have it zoomed in. Right now it's set at 200%, so it's double, 2x. Now you have different options of how you want to use your magnifier. You can have it as the whole screen where you're scrolling around like this. And at the bottom here is the change magnifier view. You can also do it docked, and docking means that it's at the top, and you can move this around, like if you want it to be at the bottom or at, oh, we're going to, if you want it on the side even, I don't know why you'd want it on the side, but if you want it on the top, you can put it on top. You can make it a little bit larger. So now, wherever I'm scrolling here down below, it is zoomed up, it's zoomed in on at the top. So I can go down to my Word document, select the lamps guide, and I see now at the top here, I have my Word document zoomed in. This is a pretty cool option for people. It's kind of like having your own handheld magnifier, but you don't have to, worry about holding it in your hand. It's on your computer, and you just use your mouse to move around. The other option for magnifier from docked is also a lens, and this is even more like a handheld magnifier, because now where let me go to the document so it's a little easier to see. Wherever I move my mouse to, I have this like lens that zooms things in. So this could be a cool option too, if this is what you prefer. I personally am not the biggest fan of lens. I like docked because if I'm just scrolling around here, I can lose my place pretty easily. But if you're just trying to see certain things, or maybe you're on a website and you're trying to see like the tabs at the top or something like that, it could be useful. Or if you like it this way too, that's the other thing, is they give you these options to decide, which one you like. So I'm going to actually go back to docked. There we go. Okay, so now we have the little magnifier here at the top. I'm going to show you what this looks like on the internet. So at the top here, we have the VSA, which is the Vision Serve Alliance, and then we have some of my tabs at the top here. Let's look at services for persons. Let's look at the DC government website here, Department of Disability Services. They have all their drop-down menus. And then we see, services for blindness, people with blindness and vision impairment. We have some of the little scrolling things here, little options, but we can see, it zooms in and it has quite a few things here. If I want to zoom in even more, you can go up to, I think 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's see how big we go. So it can go up to, extremely large, but when you get to these extreme numbers, you see that the text gets very blurry. Um, 400, it's still a little bit. 300 seems to be the best when it comes to getting as much magnification as you can without the text getting too blurry. But 200 is also a really great option. So that's Magnifier. As you can see, it works on the internet. Oops, what do we do here? It works on a calendar. You can see, the different events going on a calendar, and so on and so forth. Let's see, where else any websites you all want to see, any websites you want to see with a magnifier that would be interesting to you? Let's go to, I'll show you Amazon.com. So Amazon, again, see, it still zooms in, and it works pretty well still. You can still do everything you want to do. I can go to today's deals. If I want to make a purchase, let's just pick the first thing that comes up here. Hopefully it's not anything weird. Oh, perfect. A little speaker system. So you can still see everything just fine. You can still handle transactions as you would normally. So that is the magnifier. Get rid of that. Okay. So is there anything else? Oh, you can also invert the color. Oh, you can also invert the colors. I forgot to show you that. Again, I don't know if it's updating, but you have the option to invert colors if that's something that works for you. Okay. So I'm going to stop here and see what questions you all have. Let's see. Is the size of the dock adjustable? Yes, it is, Terry. So I'm going to turn it on real quick to show you again. So the dock here, I can make it as big as needed. If I make it the whole page, though, it really cuts down because you can only adjust or the field of view for where you can look. While that gets bigger, the field for you to navigate at the bottom that's not zoomed in gets smaller. So the biggest I've seen it be effective is about half. So then you can still navigate adequately. So you
Sean, to that point about adjusting the size of the dock, like you said, it pushes the page that you're viewing down. So sometimes you lose visibility of the bottom of the page, which sometimes there could be, navigation buttons. So sometimes I've found myself having to take the dock off and then strain to find a button, that would be pushed down and unavailable if I had the dock on because it's pushing your screen down, if you can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, I wouldn't even say half of the screen. So maybe like the top quarter of the screen at most is, best to dock.
Yeah, I would.
And sometimes you can just play with the size, but it will push down what you're viewing.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a whole lot of, you practice on your own, see what works for you. If you're someone that you really need, because if you need, 400, then, you may need more space at the bottom, and that might actually work for you because you're only, when you're at 4x, you're only seeing 3 lines at a time anyway. But yeah, in general, you don't want to cover up more than half, and even less, honestly, is better, like Janice said. Yes, you can move the doc. Yeah, you can actually. So if I go over right now, my magnifier or my cursor is on my second screen. So I have 2 screens. So right now, this is a whole nother computer screen I have over here, David. So there's me. There's other folks, but yeah, I can, you can come over here. And there's some chat box, but we can see, so yeah, there's all kinds of different things that we can do with this. Other questions?
Sean, this is Janice. One thing I've found difficult with Microsoft is the contrast. Like if I want to look at the settings, it has only options for, it doesn't say grayscale, it says silver or blue. And, I want like a more of a contrast, like maybe a dark blue, so I can have a light, white lettering on my toolbar, because the silver, it's so light. I can't get a hard contrast. Has Microsoft addressed that? Because the silver and the blue, they're both pretty light colors.
So was this, did you say that was in Comcast, like Comcast, your email?
No. I said I don't have a recent version of Microsoft. Right now I'm dealing with 8. Don't laugh.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know a whole lot about the older Windows
But
update.
still, see here, you were using the grayscale, but there's nothing that provides you more of a contrast on that, left side toolbar.
So there is a pure inverted one, so it'll reverse the colors completely.
Right, but then everything's black. Yeah, I don't want a black background. I just want to be able to read, like these letters. It just doesn't seem to be a strong contrast to me over here on this left side.
Gotcha. So one option is you can go to your magnifier,
Mm-hmm.
turn that on, and we'll let it, hold on, I need to, yep, 200. And we can invert the colors, but it'll only invert on the far end. So you have some of that there.
Mm.
That's
Mhm.
one option. Yeah, it's not a perfect, it's not
Mhm.
perfect. And, I would love to have more. Hold on, let's see what this high contrast does. So the high contrast, I don't know if you can see it right now, but
That's an option. What did you do to do that? To do it like that?
so are you looking in in the magnifier at the bottom, or are you looking at the top?
I'm looking over on the left how you have the when you're looking to select which option, it's dark. It's the dark bar.
Yeah, so if you go to the high contrast option in your vision, in the ease of access,
Mm-hmm.
you'll go to turn it on. And then there's different themes. This one's high contrast white. And I'm thinking that you're seeing it now because it's not inverted colors. Inverted colors causes all kinds of wonkiness. And I'm trying to show you the screen.
To activate, press space bar.
So high contrast white is what's giving me this.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what it looks like in a Word document.
Sean,
Yes.
this is Joe. One just general comment that some of the folks might like, there is the Microsoft line for customers with disabilities, which is 800-936-5900. Sometimes if there's a very specific question, the agent can address it and anyway, just something to think about, just in general for folks.
What was that? 800-936?
Right, 5900.
5900.
Right,
Thank
and
you,
that's
Joe.
specifically for clients with disabilities. And they do quite a good job. They're very specific. They can access, do a quick shot where they go online and they look at what you're looking at. So just an option if there's something specific.
Thank you.
I use them quite a bit. We use them for some of the other clients. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thank
Right.
you for sharing. And it was,
Okay.
what was it, 800-936?
Right, 5900.
And I'm putting this in the chat box for everyone.
Yeah.
Alert from Sean Curry Pop to everyone, :800-936-5900.
So that's Microsoft Consumers with Disabilities line. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Going back on mute.
So any other questions about some of the stuff before we, I just want to show you just a little bit of narrator then. Okay. So I've got all of my other options off. Narrator. So narrator it's the Windows built-in screen reader. So you may have heard of JAWS before, and JAWS is a software you can download that does screen reading as well. I will tell you, JAWS is probably better than narrator. However, there's a little bit larger of a learning curve, and it does cost money. So, but it is very, very good. I'm not saying it's not, but it does require some extra training. Whereas narrator, it's a little simpler. It's kind of, it's kind of simplified, and it can be useful when you're in a pinch. If you are a JAWS user and you need to, get through some things while you're in between, a new program update, or let's say you're starting a new job and you haven't gotten your JAWS yet from your reasonable accommodation requests. Narrator can kind of step up and be a fill-in while you're doing it. So when I turn narrator on, that's going to talk a little bit. So I hope you can hear it.
Settings window, narrator dialog, OK, button, Alt+O, heads up. Narrator keyboard changes. We've updated the narrator keyboard layout so it more closely matches the experience you may have had with other screen readers. If you want narrator to tell you what commands are associated with the keys you're pressing, you can turn on input learning by pressing caps lock +1. To turn it off, press caps lock +1 twice. To learn more, press Ctrl plus Windows logo key +N to open your narrator settings and access the online user guide. Setting, narrator heading level 1. Welcome to narrator. This is narrator home, where you can get quick start button, learn the basics of narrator guide.
Okay, so I just turned narrator on, and as you can, could you all hear that? I should ask that first.
Yes.
Okay. So it's the text to speech, so it's reading what's on the screen. A couple basics. There's a little blue box that highlights whatever the narrator is reading. So right now it's on narrator guide. If I click the tab button, it goes
What's
to
new button. Get an overview of new and updated features. Alt W. Settings, feedback, show narrate, link, exit narrator, minimize, button, Alt. Settings window, use narrator, turn on narrator, toggle switch.
So there's all kinds of different options here. You can also choose your voice.
Microsoft Mark.
I
English,
like Mark.
Personalize narrator's voice. Choose a voice.
Ones.
Microsoft Mark.
Personalize narrator's voice. Choose a voice. Microsoft David.
Personalize narrator's voice. Choose a voice. Microsoft Zira. English.
Personalize
United
narrator's
States. 2 of
voice.
5. Selected.
Choose a voice. Microsoft David desktop.
Personalize narrator's voice. Choose a voice. Microsoft Mark. English.
Different
United
options.
States. Combo box.
And then you can also change the voice speed. So if you need a little slower.
Change voice speed. Change voice speed. Change voice speed. Change voice speed. Slider at 12. Change voice speed. Slider at 16. Change voice speed. Slider at 18.
So
change voice speed. Slider at 9.
So 10
change
is,
voice
is
speed.
the typical
Slider
one.
at 10.
As we go slower, it can go very, 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 very slow. It can also go very, very, very fast. Some folks can, I'm going to say this I'm going to press the higher one, and I'm going to let you know that there are some folks and maybe some people on this call that can understand this. I cannot. If you've been using a voice like VoiceOver or JAWS or Narrator for a long time, chances are you actually can understand this because our ears will adapt to be able to understand, comprehend faster.
Change voice speed, slider at 20. Change voice speed, slider at 18.
So
change voice speed.
I
Change
can
voice
do,
speed, slider at 12.
I like 12. 12 is pretty good for me. You can also change the pitch.
Change voice pitch, slider at 15. Change voice pitch, slider at 2. Change voice pitch, slider at 15. Change voice pitch, slider at 12.
And you can also
change voice volume, slider at 71. Change voice volume, slider at 49.
So that's the basics of some of the different settings. There's a lot more stuff down here. I'm not going to get really into all of that right this moment, just because, and there's also a use Braille section. If you want to do the use Braille, I would recommend getting training. And you should already know how to use Braille at this point if you're going to try to access it on the computer.
Sean, can you give us the basic commands to turn narrator on and off?
Sure, I can actually do you one better. I can go straight to the help guide and show you.
Chapter 2, Narrator Basics, Google Chrome, Sean Curry, Pane, link, phone link. Chapter 2, Narrator Basics, Google Chrome, Sean Curry,
real
Pane,
fast
banner,
for
link,
you.
link, skip to main content link.
So very briefly, so here we are in the Microsoft Narrator option. So this is the website for it. I'm actually going to go ahead and put it in the chat box. So
Nothing
if you
selected.
want some of the training,
chat window, input chat text type message.
time. Oh, whoops, that's not what we wanted. Why did it do that? Hold on.
No item in view.
Ignore what I just copy and paste
Chat window
from another op thing. Okay.
Menu. Chapter 2, Narrator Base, no item in view.
So
chat window, input chat text.
Okay. Sorry, folks. I'm gonna do that once we.
Chapter 2, Narrator Basics, Google Chrome, Sean Curry, Pane. Chapter 2, Narrator Basics.
So very briefly, there's like there's what's called a narrator icon or button or whatever you want to call it, and that's how you can get stuff started and going. So for me, it's the insert key. It's either insert or caps lock. That's one of the options in the settings menu. I prefer the insert button.
Unavailable.
But if you're going through different, if you're trying to go through different
Chapter 3,
options,
using scan mode.
Tab button.
Windows keyboard shortcuts, link, keyboard shortcuts in Windows.
So there's keyboard shortcuts in Windows. That's a really great tool.
Link, keyboard shortcuts in apps.
The other thing you can do is switching between tabs. That is the Alt Tab option.
PC Assistive Technology Program, Google Chrome, 2 of 12.
So David, here's where it'll actually tell you what
Settings, 3 of 12. Lamps Guide, Word, 4 of 12. Community Centers to Contact 2022 Excel, 5 of 12. My Meetings, Zoom, Google, Meeting Controls, SK_SP, Major Barriers to Entry for Low Vision Topic 1 Pagers, Zoom Cloud Meetings, Inbox, 20, Sean, Chapter 2, Narrator Basics, Google Chrome, Chapter 2, Narrator Basics, Google Chrome, Sean Curry, Pane, Windows Keyboard Shortcuts, link, keyboard shortcuts in apps.
So that's very, very, another nice little basic tool. If you want to figure out what page you're on, you'll press, and it says here narrator. That's what I mean by, your narrator button. For me, it's insert, so I do insert plus T.
Chapter 2, Narrator Basics, Google Chrome, Sean Curry, Pane.
There you go. And then you can read the contents of the window. If you want to read everything that's on the window, it's narrator W.
Chapter 2, Narrator Basics, Google Chrome, Sean Curry, Pane. Chapter 2, Narrator Basics, skip to main link, content link, support link, Microsoft 365 link, Office link, Windows link, Surface link, Xbox link, Deals link, try Microsoft 365 all Microsoft expand to see list of Microsoft products and services, Windows keyboard shortcuts, link, Windows keyboard shortcuts for accessibility.
So that's very, very basic, some of the basics there. What's kind of cool, and I like this one, is that you can find the time of day by just putting the narrator plus the 12 key.
1:48 p.m. Tuesday, April 19th, 2022.
So there's a lot of other things here as well, but it is something that takes some time to learn.
.30 landmarks, 88 links, 27 headings.
So that's to help if you do narrator plus S, it tells you that basically like the table of contents of what's on the page. So that's a very basic overview of narrator. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time there because that could be a class on its own. And if it's something you want to learn more about, we can always talk about it more at the center at a one-on-one appointment as well. Terry, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, did I unmute? Yes, I did.
Personalized narrator.
I'm wondering, in place of narrator, in some situations, I honestly don't know what it's called. I came upon it by accident in Outlook, in most Microsoft applications, and I think it's wonderful for people with low vision, is the one that you do Control Alt and the space bar, as long as you can see where your mouse is. For instance, in your email, if you go into the reading pane, for instance, and tap your mouse at the beginning of an email, hit Alt Control Spacebar, and it'll start reading it. Do you know what that is called and how you get to the controls for it? It's fabulous. I love it. I've not found a name for it yet.
Joe, is that the JAWS?
No, it's not JAWS.
It's not JAWS. Okay.
No, it's purely only available in Microsoft applications. Go into your, at some time, go to your Outlook and click your mouse on one of your emails and just hit Control Alt Spacebar. You can do the same thing in a Word file.
Okay, we'll do a Word file. That'll be easy.
Alt Control Space mute. Currently unmuted. Alt plus A button to activate. Press space bar.
You're bringing up JAWS. I don't even have JAWS on the computer I use it on. That's why I know it's not a JAWS application. I have JAWS on my other two computers, but not on this one. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing for
hard white,
anyone who can
bright
do
slash cool white, middle, and soft white, yellow.
Yeah, so
any
that's the
ceiling,
screen
floor,
reader.
or table light that uses incandescent bulbs can be switched to LED bulbs. Lamps with move.
Yeah, so
It's interesting though. It's using an eloquence voice.
Yes.
Which I know mine doesn't. That's what strikes me about it. I wish I could share my screen and I'd show you how to show you what I'm
Great for
talking
task lighting.
about.
They can be aimed right at whatever task you are doing: reading, writing, cooking, eating, or playing games. Consider LED bulb lamps with a range of brightness levels and colors built in, typically $50 to $80.
Yeah, so there's little settings here that can change the names up, Terry. But yeah, it's not, you don't press all three of them at the same time. You press Control, hold that in, Alt, hold that in, and then space bar.
And then the space bar, exactly.
2 p.m.
Yeah, kind of like if you play a piano, you can either play the whole chord at once or you can play it together or simultaneously, like one.
Right. You can actually hit the Control and the Alt together, but then you do hit the space bar separately.
Yeah.
All right. After that. And then you use it's a toggle because you use the same thing to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just thought I'd see if maybe somebody knew what it was. I find it absolutely the best thing that I've seen come along. Maybe it's only in 365. I'm not sure.
So it's technically a part of Magnifier. So you see down here, there's a little reading option and it can be Control. You can also change the modifier key to caps lock or to insert if you really want to. But yeah, it'll read to you on what's on the page.
And it's under Narrator?
It's under Magnifier.
Under Magnifier?
Go to Vision and Magnifier, and that's where it's at the very bottom. It's not really well placed.
No, it's like a hidden thing.
Yeah. I knew what you were talking about. I was just trying to remember where it was at. Yeah, it's under Magnifier.
All right, I thank you.
You're welcome.
Unfortunately, I wish it would work on all apps, but it only works in Microsoft. It does not work like in Google Chrome, for instance.
Notification from Outlook. Start Erlich via groups.io.
All right. It looks like Millie has a question.
Recommendation for someone to fix shower crowd between tiles.
Yes, I am mostly a voiceover user, and I was wondering if you could provide me a quick comparison between voiceover and narrator? What are the differences or similarities?
With voiceover and narrator,
Yes.
I can. So they both do the text, the screen reading. Voiceover, you're using the different swipes and the different finger movements and whatnot. Narrator, it's keystrokes.
Okay.
That's the major difference about usage. And then some of the different things some things are available on voiceover that aren't on narrator, and vice versa. Joe, I don't know if you want to unmute, but maybe you can talk more about JAWS versus voiceover, because I know you use both of them.
Mute, currently unmuted. Alt+A button. To
Yes,
activate, press space bar.
What Sean, what you just said, I think is a good way of saying it. Narrator is you'll be getting the audible, and just for a lot of you, a lot of the keystrokes are very close to narrator, and JAWS are pretty close. Like for instance, the narrator 12 is the time, Alt 12, F12 is for the time on JAWS. But honestly, what you said is pretty much the case. I mean, JAWS, just like narrator, narrator, they're going to say exactly where you are in the box, whereas voiceover is usually based on verbal commands that you're making, and as Sean says, you can swipe also. I don't know if that's a complete explanation, but pretty much you would use narrator or JAWS if you're on a document and you're trying to see where you are and move it along. But whereas with voiceover, you're asking voiceover, to speak on what's on your tablet or what's on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I can add to that is that interesting, and there's always a caveat.
Yes.
If you have a Mac desktop computer, it's also keystrokes. VoiceOver is keystrokes, because it's a desktop, not a touch screen.
Good. Yeah.
So, there's always
that's a good point.
Always like, oh, but this one time there's for this one option there's that as well, but
Right.
it operates very similarly.
Yes.
I hope that answered your question, Millie.
Thank you.